Hey guys, what is going on? My name is Adam and welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time, I know, but we're finally going to do a couple of videos in the next couple of days. The first one today, I don't know which one's going to go up first, but today's video is going to be our Reading and Leeds prediction. So thank you very much for being patient and waiting for us to come back. It's a really busy period for the both of us, myself and Ruben, so that's why probably the content on the page hasn't been as good. The YouTube content hasn't been as regular, and I mean, that's going to happen at this sort of time of year, but lineups are coming out. So the two videos we've got coming out is this one, which is the Reading and Leeds prediction video, and then the other one is going to be reacting to all the lineups and names that have come out over the last few days. So let's get cracking and let's talk about this year's prediction poster. Okay, so if you follow the pages, you might have saw last week that we predicted the Reading and Leeds headliners and sub-headliners. The poster you're going to see on screen now is going to be the poster that was uploaded last week to all the pages. I'm just going to be going through and explaining my choices, and also I'm going to chuck in a few names that could replace some of the names that I've predicted. So it's just going to be a big Reading and Leeds prediction and discussing some names that could be there. So let's get started, shall we? I just want to say first off, sorry if you hear any background noise or if the lighting isn't as good. We're in the winter now and it's dark and it's like 4 o'clock and it's dark and the heating's on, and yeah. So the Friday headliners we predicted is Billie, Eilish and A$AP Rocky. The Saturday headliners are Sam Fender and Paramore, and the Sunday headliners are Green Day and Foals. So let's unpack these a little bit more. Billie Eilish is going to be, before today actually, I thought, you know, it could be a bit of a stretch, but she's just been announced for Electric Picnic, which is a week after Reading and Leeds. And Electric Picnic, I believe, is a Festival Republic festival, and they share a lot of headliners. Last year they had Megan Thee Stallion and Arctic Monkeys, again, two headliners that headlined this year's Reading and Leeds. So Billie Eilish looks set to be nailed on after a big Glastonbury headline last year. It's only right that she comes over to Reading and Leeds and does it there, a bit like what they did with Stormzy. It was on basically the same album run and album cycle, so it makes a lot of sense for Billie Eilish to return after that 2019 set, which was like the biggest set for someone who wasn't headlining, biggest crowd. So it's only right that she comes back and is probably going to be the main headliner for one of the days. A$AP Rocky was a bit of a throw-in. We knew there needs to be a rapper on there. We also think that it could be Kendrick Lamar, but my gut instinct was that they're going to pick a rapper that isn't as big as Kendrick Lamar or Travis Scott, and they're going to be the second headliner. So we went with A$AP Rocky. Another shout you could have had is Skepta. I just think they need that really hard rapper. I mean, knowing them, they could even chuck Playboi Carti, and we'll get to Playboi Carti a bit later on, but they could put Playboi Carti as a headliner. But I think they're going to chuck in a name like that. But we could be very proven wrong, and in a week's time we could find out that it's Kendrick Lamar whenever the announcement's going to be. So we've gone for A$AP Rocky. I also had a bit of a bold statement and said H could headline. I don't think he could, but it's one of them ones that if Reading and Leeds are cutting back on budget, H is still a big name and they could have him as like the second headliner. But yeah, we've gone for A$AP Rocky. Moving on to Saturday, there's debate as to which way round you'd want these two, but Sam Fender and Paramore. Now, Sam Fender, we spent the entire summer saying that Sam Fender wasn't going to headline. And we've put him in our prediction poster. You may be wondering why. Why is because he just looks, unfortunately, not unfortunately because I don't like him, he's one of my favourite artists, he's my top Spotify artist. Unfortunately, he looks set to headline. And the reason I say unfortunately is that I think personally he should wait and do the circles, next circuit, have a break, have like a year's break where people really want to see him, and then chuck him on the Reading headliner or chuck him on the Glastonbury headliner. Perhaps that's what they were going to do with Glastonbury. But I think Sam Fender is going to headline Reading and Leeds. We both think that, and we just think, you know, he's got his St James's, but not just St James's. He's also been announced for like Transnet headliner, and it just makes sense. It really does, and it just makes sense that he did Reading and Leeds. He smashed Reading and Leeds when he came on, and he was the main sub headliner. So the only way is up and his headline. We've got him as the main headliner on that day, but it could easily be our second one, which is Paramore. Paramore obviously making their comeback. I think everyone could have predicted Paramore. Like this time last year, basically. So Paramore makes a lot of sense. They're going to be on a tour run. They're on a new album cycle, aren't they? So they haven't been at Reading and Leeds since 2014. So it makes a lot of sense for them to do a big return. Another name you could have, which we actually chucked about last year. I think we even put it in a prediction poster last year. Florence and the Machine. Obviously, Florence is back on an album run. She's headlining Boardmasters. So Florence and the Machine's another one that just keep an eye out. I don't know why everyone's not predicted her. I could be entirely wrong in that she's doing a show or she's in a different country. But just keep an eye on Florence. And now going on to the Sunday. Now Foals and Green Day. Foals looks to be nailed on. I think Foals, again, haven't been at the festival since about 2017, I think, maybe 2016. And again, they're on a bit of a run. They're doing some other shows. I'm just going to double check which ones they're doing. Okay, so Foals are doing a small album run next year. They're doing like the intimate shows when they do Kingston. They're doing Liquid Room in Southampton. So that's in January. Then they're going on to support Paramore in America. And then they're back over in Europe for August to do Siget in Budapest, Kalamihas, Istanbul, and they're all festivals. So we could see Foals and Paramore on the same day, sort of like a support thing. So yeah, they look nailed on. They look like they haven't really been announced for any UK dates yet. So surely in that sort of festival run they're doing, Reading and Leeds is going to be one of them. And Green Day as well, they're back doing some American festivals, an American tour. I don't think they've announced, unless I'm wrong, announced any UK dates. So I think, from little murmurings and rumours, I think Green Day at the Reading and Leeds makes sense. And your other one that it could be, and a lot of people will be watching this video expecting us to say, is Blink-182. Now, the only reason we haven't put Blink-182 in our prediction is that we've just had a little bit of a tip off to say that they're not doing it. Look, whether that is going to be any truth in that, we don't know. But we thought we'd be best off to not predict it after hearing that. It's one of those bits of information that you kind of take on board, and that's all we've done. We've just taken it on board. We've thought that they might not be doing it, and we haven't put Blink-182. But look, the lineup could be out in a couple of weeks, and they're going to be doing it. So there's your headliners. Let me know what you think, whether you think we're right, wrong, stupid. And now we're going to be talking about the sub-headliners. So, Idols and Playboi Carti. Now, Playboi Carti is one of them acts that everyone has shouted for the past few years, and eventually they normally do these sorts of acts. So, I think it's about time that Reading and Leeds pull out Playboi Carti, and I have a feeling probably for like 2 years. I imagine they've tried to book him in advance. So, it's about time they get Playboi Carti, but he's going to be one of them artists that just might not want to do it. So let's just see on Playboi Carti. Idols, I think, is due a return. Idols did an American festival alongside Wet Leg last year during Reading and Leeds. That's why they weren't there. And it's about time that Idols return and they can do that sub-headline slot. Again, they'd be the sort of act that'd be really cool in like the Radio 1 tent, but we're still going to be on our two main stages. So I think Idols is going to return. H and Self-Esteem. Now, I'm going to hold my hands up and say Self-Esteem shouldn't be there. I think Self-Esteem isn't quite big enough, and that's my fault. I had her in at the last minute. I think Self-Esteem will be at the festival. She could do a similar slot to what like Seagulls did in 2021. So like the act before the headliners. I'd put her as a sub-headliner. That's probably not correct, unless they want to save some money. H, I think, is nailed on. We've had the return of AJ Tracey from 2021, and I think H is getting bigger and bigger. He did a bit of a stadium tour, didn't he, this year, or at least did some arenas. You know what I mean? So like the smaller venues. So I think it's about time that H returned on a bit of an album cycle himself too. Going on to the Saturday, we've got Royal Blood and Wet Leg. Now, Royal Blood is a bit of a question mark, but what we want to do is add in a bit of a realistic prediction that is a bit different to the other ones you were seeing, because we were getting the same headliners and sub-headliners on nearly every single poster. So we added in Royal Blood. Look, whether they're big enough to be the second headliner, they probably are, but sometimes Reading need to surprise you and they can book a big act and stick them a bit lower down, and I think with Royal Blood they could do that. I think Royal Blood are the sort of act that, you know, yes, they may not be out on an album cycle. Royal Blood haven't been at Reading and Leeds since Typhoons is out, and I think, you know, if they just want to keep a little bit of relevancy, they're also booked for Transnet, and they're not headlining Transnet, so that's why we chucked them in. Actually, I just remembered that they're playing Transnet, and I just thought if Transnet can get them and not have them headline, then Reading and Leeds can too. Our next one is Wet Leg. Now, Wet Leg have got to be there, haven't they? Wet Leg, I don't think, unless they played Introducing, I don't think they've played Reading and Leeds. And I think they would have loved to have them booked last year, with them doing like to Gloucester. I think they did the Isle of Wight as well. Obviously, they're from the Isle of Wight, but I think they would love to get their hands on a Wet Leg set, and they're perfect to be that sort of first sub-headliner of the day. I mean, you could put them down one more and have them on like the first sub-headliner of the day, but they're going to get a huge crowd, and you can't have them on any other stage. So Wet Leg for me are nailed on. Central C and Don Broco. Now, Don Broco seems to be one of those artists that will never play announced, and they'll always do a secret set, and by the time they do play, they've got to be a sub-headliner. They've got to be. Don Broco are a band that everyone seems to know, but, you know, like their secret set at 2021, it fit in a small tent and everyone was content. But I think Don Broco will be there. And Central C as well makes a lot of sense. The last time he was there was, I think, 2021 when he headlined the One Extra. Just makes sense for him to come in. He's got even bigger since then. It just makes sense for him to come in and do a sub-headliner slot. And I think he was at Wireless last year, but I don't think, unless I want to be corrected, that Central C's been announced for anything this year. A little bit of a wild card, which was helped and picked by Ruben, is Tenacious D. They're like a little bit of a spoof act, and it's Jack Black, and they're doing a tour next year. And I think to have that sort of headliner, it's a bit like the Run the Jewels under Rage Against the Machine. I think to have that sort of fun old school headline sub-headliner underneath the legend act, whoever that may be, Blink-182, Queens of the Stone Age, Green Day, I think it makes sense that Tenacious D could be there. The Kooks are at Transmit and at a whole host of other festivals. Yeah, the Kooks are at like Neighbourhood Weekender and that sort of festival, and it would make a lot of sense. I think have Truck announced a lineup? I don't think Truck have, but they're the sort of one that does the rounds, Transmit, Neighbourhood Weekender, and the Kooks didn't play last year, so it makes sense to then bring them back. The other one you could have is the Wombats. I think they're pretty much go hand in hand, and I think, no, the Kooks might not even been there 2021, so the Kooks might not have been at Reading and Leeds since like 2019, 2018, so they'd probably make more sense than the Wombats actually. Becky Hill, Nothing But Thieves, they did the special guest slot, didn't they? In 2021, they were the first act back at Reading and Leeds after a year out with COVID. And yeah, they're heavily rumoured and I think are on a tour themselves. And Becky Hill, she's back on a sort of festival circuit this year and haven't been at Reading and Leeds since 2021, and she didn't sub-headline. So a Becky Hill sub-headliner would be really cool. I think her sets are great and it would make a lot of sense. And look, these are the sort of bookings that Reading likes. They're crowd pleasers. They're a bit like your Mabel, your Dua Lipa in 2018, your Charlie XCX late minute edition. She's similar to that. Another act we did have is Lord Kana, obviously a secret set from last year. Now, he could be a sub-headliner, but I personally think they're going to put him in as like the special guest. Not really sure why, just a bit of a hunch that I had from last year. I just saw him doing that slot, and it could be like almost like a Saturday opener, something like that. I don't know why. Same with Don Broco. I think Don Broco could do a Frank Carter and the Rattlesnakes type deal. Open up the Friday at Reading. They're a Reading favourite. Someone like the Amazons could also do that. Raw Blood could do that. No, Raw Blood probably a bit too big. But yeah, you've got those sort of acts that could do those slots. So just talking about some other names that could be announced. We had Electric Picnic today. Announced a whole host of names. Okay, and they announced Billie Eilish, Lewis Capaldi and Fred Again. Fred Again is another act that could actually be there and be like a sub-headliner at Reading. Niall Horan, Steve Lacey. Now, Steve Lacey has been predicted a couple of times on these prediction posters as another special guest. Again, one of them sort of current up and a bit like the Kid Laroi type booking, your Post Malone, your Billie Eilish in that sort of in the early days. So Steve Lacey is one that could be announced. They also announced Idols, and I'm not sure if I mentioned that earlier, but Idols, another reason that they could be at Reading. They also announced Jamie XX, Tom Odell, Rick Astley and Amon the Sniffers. So keep an eye out for those names, because Electric Picnic love to have the same as Reading and Leeds. So yeah, let's just go through some other names that could be at Reading and Leeds. I mean, you've got the likes of like Blossoms, Architects, Doja Cat. There's so many names that Reading and Leeds will just throw out. Like last year, we all thought we had it banked. We thought Dua Lipa was going to be there. We thought, who else? I can't remember who else we had. But then they chuck out Halsey and Megan Thee Stallion. Like, you'll just get some random names, and I don't know when we're going to get it actually, but we're probably due the lineup probably within the next week. And if it's not, then it's not going to be after Christmas. There's rumours about it being delayed because of a headliner pulled out. Rumours that it's like a big rapper or something. It's normally the rappers that pull out, isn't it? Isle of Wight Festival, Pulp, George Ezra, Chemical Brothers, Robbie Williams, N-Dubs, Cortinas. See, if they're on a bit of a run, they could be at Reading easily. So no, nothing ever with Reading is straightforward. You always think you've got it or it makes sense, and then they'll just whip out someone random, which is why it's exciting, of course. So yeah, let me know what you think about our prediction. It's just been a sort of a ramble and chatting about who could be at Reading and Leeds really, because we haven't had any sniff of the lineup at all. So yeah, we normally get like about a week before they'll start teasing, and then all of a sudden they'll release the lineup the week after. So hopefully we'll get something like that again. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It's been a bit of a ramble. I'm going to upload this one first, and the next one is going to be reacting to lineups. I'm going to film that straight after this, just so I've got one in the bank. So sorry about the absence. Stick with us, because we're going to be doing stuff in the new year. We're going to be doing stuff about Glastonbury as well. Obviously, Elton John just announced for Glastonbury. And any other festivals you want us to cover. If you want us to do like a global festival chat or something, then do let us know, and we can talk about the ones in Spain and Europe and America. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Let us know what you think about our predictions, and comment down below who do you think is going to headline, who do you think is going to sub-headline, or if there's just an act that you have a really big hunch for and you just think, yep, they're going to be at Reading. Just let us know. As always, like, subscribe, really appreciate it, and follow the socials if you haven't already. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later, guys.